here we are. We are on the home stretch of Academia April 2. We only have 5 episodes left and one final saga. So, yep, it is all coming to an end now. We are on the home stretch, and from here, things can only keep looking upwards. Now, I will admit that this arc does have a very slow start. Like, very, very slow. But we'll talk about it more as we get on through this review, but this is the final arc and saga of Season 2 of My Hero Academia. After this, it's Season 3 and onwards. So, we are almost done with our second ever Academia April, and I just want to take a moment to thank all of you guys at home for watching these videos and making this the most successful Academia April to date. I only hope that in Seasons 3 and 4, when we start getting to the really hype stuff, that we can keep this going, because I love talking about MHA. It has been a pleasure talking about it on this show, even though there are a few moments here and there where I crap on it, but it's out of love. It's tough love, is what it is. But I still love this show. I still love talking about this show, and I'm glad that this is one of those animes where I can just talk about it episode by episode. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing overall saga reviews like I did for Dragon Ball, but I mainly did that because each Dragon Ball saga was just way too many episodes to cover in one month. So, thankfully, MHA does not have that problem. With My Hero, I can just take my time and look at it piece by piece, whereas with some other shows, I have to look through it arc by arc to conserve time, because there's only about 30 to 31 days approximately per month, with the exception of February, which only has 28. So, yeah, I only have a limited amount of time to cover episodes every single season. So, thankfully, this is one of those animes where I can look at it episode by episode, and I don't have to do like a complete series overview or just the sagas. Like, I can really dive deep into each and every detail of every episode, which I wish I could do for all anime, but some sagas are just way too long. For example, Demon Slayer. When I talk about Demon Slayer, I'm gonna have to do it arc by arc. Sorry. But for shows like My Hero that have a manageable amount of episodes per saga and per season, I can work with this. So, keep that in mind before you start leaving stuff in my comment section asking, well, okay, why is one getting more coverage than the other? It's to try and balance it all out, because if an anime has about 30 or less episodes in a season, consistently, I will cover it episode by episode. But if it's more than 30 per episode, per arc, per season, I can't do it episode by episode. I have to do more of a generalization, so I don't take up too much time and I don't fall behind. So, yep, that is your explanation for the day about why I review anime in 2 different ways. Okay, with all that said, let's actually get to the episode. I'm sorry for going off on a tangent. I just wanted to make the rules very clear. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Station, your sister for anything and everything animation, including pro heroes fighting for the fate of the world, as well as TV and movies. I'm your host, Justin Small. Welcome back to Academia April 2, Season 2, Episode 21, aka Episode 34. Gear up for final exams, the beginning of the final exam saga, the final arc of Season 2 of My Hero Academia. And it starts out pretty slow, because this entire episode is pretty much nothing but setup, and we get one battle, and it doesn't even last 5 minutes. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense for me to throw that giant explanation in there. That way, this still has a somewhat longer length. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to say it. I don't know what words come out of my mouth. I promise you most of this is not scripted aside from my final conclusions and thoughts. So, whenever I say something, most of the time, it's not planned. Okay, that's enough about me being stupid for the day. Let's get into the episode now. So we start off with Mineta watching a talk show debating if sexiness is needed in the workplace. The show features Mount Lady and Midnight, and they debate on how Midnight ended up getting laws changed with her former costume. Before long, they end up fighting over their age, much to the pleasure of Mineta. Oh, good grief. Then we have Aizawa warning Class 1A to prepare their minds and their bodies for both the written and practical sections of the final exam, which is taking their midterm grades into account, and much of the class discusses getting ready for the end of the term. Because this is the end of the first semester of UA High for all these students. So we have Tokoyami and Mina scoring the lowest grades of the class, admitting that they haven't studied at all because of the events that have been taking place throughout the semester. Then you have Tokoyami agreeing, and Satsuo notes that the tests will be even more difficult than the midterms. Then you have Minoru teasing Ashua and I'm blanking on some names here. Kaminari, saying that the only practical will be difficult because he had high grades in class. Then we have Midoriya and Ida trying to encourage them to do their best, being good friends and good classmates. But Todoroki intervenes and says that it should be easy if they just pay attention in class. Kaminari is discouraged, but Yaoyorozu offers to help tutor him for the written tests. Several others hear her proposal and decide to be tutored as well. Excited, Yaoyorozu prepares to prepare a study session at her home, which we find out later she's spoiled rich and lives in a mansion, because of course she does. Kirishima comments on Bakugo on his different standards from his peers, to which Bakugo angrily declares he will tutor Kirishima himself. Aoyami says that it's too late to try and cram in for exams, but Shoji replies that Ayama? Sorry about my terrible pronunciation. I do not know Japanese. Replies that Iowa needs to do some cramming himself. Now we have them discussing in a class, and we have Nito from Class 1B, that's the same annoying Monoma douchebag, bumping into Midoriya's head, sarcastically apologizing, and continuously berating, until Kendo appears and gives him a good bonking on the noggin. And then she literally has to knock him out again because he wakes up and starts doing the same crap. Then they return to their class, and Ashido and Kaminari are excited to know that the practical exam involves fighting robots. Or at least that's what they think. Afterwards, the students spend their week before final studying, where Kaminari, Ashido, Ojiro, Jiro, and Sero meet Yaoyorozu at her luxurious estate to study. Then you have Midoriya, Uraraka, and Ida studying on their own, while Bakugo aggressively tutors Kirishima. That is both fitting and ridiculously funny. And they all undergo 3 straight days of written tests, and the day of the practical tests arrive. Jiro notices that many teachers are present for the exam. Aizawa knows that without a doubt they have some knowledge on the exercise test, to which Ashido and Kaminari exclaim that it will be fighting against robots. And that's when Principal Nezu jumps out of Aizawa's scarf and reveals to Class 1A that they will not be having a battle simulation against robots. And because of the recent attacks in Hosu and the hero killer and all that stuff, they decide to make things a little bit more practical to make them more ready to face what they have to face in the real world once they become pro heroes. So that means they will be having battle simulations similar to real fights, and for this one they will be against the teachers. They will be paired off in teams of 2, and each one will have to take down a teacher by either putting handcuffs on their arms or escaping through the escape gate. Sounds pretty simple. So, some of the pairs we have are Todoroki and Yaoyorozu being paired together to face Aizawa, and Midoriya and Bakugo being paired together to face All Might. Yeah, Rut-row all around. That is not very good. And then the teachers get a handicap, which is these weighted training gear. What is it that they have? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, teachers need a handicap. Okay, and then the Class 1A pairs continue. Nezu versus Kaminari and Mina, 13 versus Aoi and Uraraka, President Mike versus Koda and Jiro, Ectoplasm versus Tokiyami and Asui, Midnight versus Seto and Mineta, Snipe versus Mezzo and Hagakure? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I'm just going to say Toru. And Cementos versus Rikido, Satsu, and Kirishima. And then finally, Power Loader versus Ida and Mashiro? I'm bad with names. And the first fight that we get, and the only fight that we get in this episode, is Satsu and Kirishima versus Cementos. Okay, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant here about something that technically has nothing to do with this episode, but I have no other place to stick it in, so let's stick it in here. Cementos is one of my least favorite characters in MHA. Why? Because he is absolute trash in My Hero Ultra Rumble. Yes, that's the reason, and yes, I am petty, because trying to play as him in that game, even on easy mode, is a bitch. Like, I have tried so many times in so many games of that game to play as that character, just to consistently get my ass kicked every time. Like, even if it's easy mode with bots, I just cannot win with this character. So, naturally, I come to hate him, loathe him even. Because he is cool, he has powers, and he's not a terrible character in terms of design and personality. But just because I am petty and I hate trying to play as him in My Hero Ultra Rumble. Yes, I'm petty. Deal with it. And you have Sato and Kirishima trying to use their powers for full frontal assault. But then Cementos just keeps wearing them down, and at one point they end up getting overwhelmed because quirks work a lot like actual abilities in sports and stuff like that, where after a while you're going to start getting exhausted and tired. And that's when their quirks shut down, and that's when they lose. And that immediately sets the tone for everyone else, showing that that while the teachers do have a handicap, they aren't going to hold back. And then the episode ends with teasing a confrontation with Tokiyami and Asui versus Ectoplasm. Yep, and he literally states himself that all the UA students will not hold back and are doing their best to crush the students. Okay, that's the episode. And like I said, it's a whole lot of exposition and a whole lot of slow, tedious build-up. But once it gets to the actual exams, it's not as bad. And there are some funny moments. So, yeah, this episode isn't great, but honestly, you could do a lot worse with MHA. I mean, we have gone through some pretty boring episodes this season. So let's just get through it nice and quick now with our final thoughts, now that we are almost 15 minutes in. It's time for the third and final saga of Season 2 to begin, and it's starting off with a bang, kind of, as the students find themselves facing off against the teachers to pass their final exams for the first semester of UA High. And even more alarming, Deku's teamed up with Bakugo to battle All Might. We'll get to that when we get to that, but trust me when I say it is by far the best part of this saga. Easily. However, this one does start out pretty slow with a lot of exposition and some pretty bad pacing. However, at the conclusion when it actually starts getting into the final exams a little bit, it picks up immediately, so I won't be too harsh here. Not to mention that the first battle of Kirishima and Sato versus Mentos did set the tone pretty quick, showing that the teachers may have a handicap, but they ain't holding back. So, it's a slow start, but no doubt it will get better as it goes on because the rest of these episodes are focused on nothing but the actual exams. Most of this episode was pretty much nothing but setup. And because of that, it gets pretty much what all the other setup episodes get in this show. It's a 6. 6 out of 10 for the final verdict. It is very slow, it has some very bad pacing, and it is a whole lot of setup, but it's by no means bad. There's still some funny moments, and it does pick up once the actual exams begin. Okay, that's all I got. I didn't mean to make this episode review 20 minutes long, but I ended up having to throw a rant in there and some extra explanations and other stuff to try and pad this review out because this review did not leave me with a whole lot to work with. So, yep, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. And now we only have 4 more episodes to go before Academia April 2 comes to a close. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time for Season 2, Episode 22, Yaoyorozu Rising, which is a great episode, and I'm excited to talk about it. I'll see you then.